Have you ever met someone who seems to live in their own world, constantly lost in thought, analysing every conversation, every decision, every fleeting moment with surgical precision? They're the ones who pause before answering simple questions, not because they don't know the answer, but because they're considering 17 different angles you hadn't even thought of. These are the deep thinkers, and their minds operate on a frequency most people can't quite tune into. You probably know one of these individuals. Maybe you are one. They're the friend who remembers conversations from 3 years ago word for word. The colleague who asks questions that make everyone else uncomfortable because they cut straight to the heart of matters people prefer to leave unexamined. The family member who turns a casual dinner discussion into a philosophical debate about the nature of existence. They see patterns where others see randomness. They find meaning in moments others dismiss as ordinary. But here's what most people don't realize about deep thinkers. Their gift comes with a hidden cost that psychology is only beginning to understand. Behind that thoughtful exterior lies a mind that never truly rests, constantly processing, constantly questioning, constantly searching for truth in a world that seems increasingly satisfied with surface-level answers. Recent neuroscience research has revealed something fascinating about how these minds actually work. When most people's brains are at rest, certain neural networks quiet down, allowing for mental downtime. But deep thinkers show persistent activity in what scientists call the default mode network, the brain's introspective headquarters. It's like having a computer that never goes to sleep mode, always running background processes that others can't see. This constant mental activity isn't just intellectual curiosity run wild, it's a fundamentally different way of experiencing reality. Where others might see a sunset and think it's beautiful, deep thinkers see the interplay of light and atmosphere, wonder about the emotional responses it triggers, question why humans are drawn to such moments, and contemplate the fleeting nature of beauty itself. Every experience becomes a doorway into deeper questions. The psychology behind this phenomenon traces back to early developmental patterns that shape how these individuals learn to navigate the world. Many deep thinkers developed their analytical nature as children, often in environments where understanding became a survival strategy. When love was unpredictable or emotions ran high, these children learned that observation and analysis could help them predict and prepare for what might come next. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. But in deep thinkers, it evolved beyond mere survival into a sophisticated way of understanding human nature. They became experts at reading between the lines, sensing unspoken tensions, and picking up on emotional undercurrents that others miss entirely. This early training created neural pathways that prioritize depth over speed, meaning over efficiency. But this gift of perception comes with unique challenges that researchers are just beginning to document. Deep thinkers often struggle with what psychologists term analysis paralysis. When every decision opens up countless possibilities to consider, simple choices become complex algorithms. Picking a restaurant becomes an exploration of cuisine, culture, nutrition, atmosphere, and social dynamics. Choosing a career path involves examining personal values, societal impact, long-term consequences, and existential purpose. This tendency toward exhaustive analysis affects their relationships in profound ways. Deep thinkers often find themselves attracted to complexity in others, drawn to individuals with rich inner worlds and intricate emotional landscapes. But they also struggle with partners who can't match their level of introspection, or who become frustrated with their need to examine everything from multiple angles. They're the ones who remember not just what you said, but how you said it, what you didn't say, and what it might have meant in 17 different contexts. This can create intimacy that feels almost supernatural, but it can also create distance when their analysis makes others feel exposed or misunderstood. The modern world presents particular challenges for these minds. We live in an era that rewards quick decisions, instant responses, and surface-level engagement. Social media platforms are designed for rapid consumption and immediate reaction, not the kind of deep processing that comes naturally to these individuals. They often find themselves out of step with a culture that values speed over depth, certainty over nuance. Deep thinkers frequently report feeling like they're living life through glass, able to see and understand everything around them, but somehow separated from the immediate experience of it. They analyze their own emotions while feeling them, observe their own reactions while having them, and question their own thoughts while thinking them. This creates a peculiar form of self-consciousness that can be both enlightening and exhausting. Their relationship with time itself differs from others. While most people experience time as a linear progression of moments, deep thinkers often find themselves mentally time traveling, connecting present experiences to past memories and future possibilities. A simple conversation might trigger associations with discussions from years ago, leading to insights about patterns in human behaviour that span decades. This temporal fluidity contributes to their reputation for wisdom beyond their years. They've been thinking about life's big questions since childhood, accumulating insights that others might not consider until much later in life. But it also means they carry emotional weight from multiple time periods simultaneously, making their inner world dense with layered experiences. Neuroscience reveals that deep thinkers show increased connectivity between brain regions responsible for memory, emotion, and abstract reasoning. This enhanced neural networking allows them to make connections that others miss, but it also means their brains are constantly active, constantly processing, constantly working. It's like having a high-performance engine that never idles. The emotional intensity that accompanies this cognitive style often surprises people who expect intellectual types to be detached from feeling. In reality, deep thinkers frequently experience emotions with the same intensity they bring to their thoughts. They don't just feel sad, they explore the architecture of sadness, examining its origins, its purpose, its relationship to joy and meaning. This emotional depth makes them natural empaths, capable of understanding others' pain with remarkable precision. They can sense when someone is struggling even when that person hasn't acknowledged it themselves. But this same sensitivity means they absorb emotional information from their environment constantly, making crowded spaces and intense social situations potentially overwhelming. Their creative expression often reflects this complex inner landscape. Whether through writing, art, music, or other forms of creativity, deep thinkers tend to produce work that operates on multiple levels simultaneously. They're drawn to metaphor, symbolism, and layered meaning because their minds naturally think in these patterns. But perhaps the most defining characteristic of deep thinkers is their relationship with questions themselves. While others seek answers to find closure, deep thinkers often find that each answer opens up 10 new questions. They're not frustrated by mystery, they're energized by it. They don't need to solve every puzzle, but they need to understand why the puzzle exists in the first place. This questioning nature extends to everything in their lives. They examine their beliefs regularly, not from doubt, but from intellectual honesty. They question social conventions not from rebelliousness, but from genuine curiosity about why things work the way they do. They analyze their own motivations not from self-criticism, but from a desire to understand the mechanisms of human behavior. The result is a life lived with unusual consciousness, where very little happens automatically or unconsciously. They notice things others take for granted, question assumptions others accept without thinking, and see possibilities others never consider. This heightened awareness shapes every aspect of their daily existence in ways that might surprise you. When a deep thinker walks into a room, they're not just entering a physical space. They're reading the emotional temperature, noticing who's sitting where and why, picking up on conversational undertones, and processing dozens of micro-expressions that reveal the true dynamics at play. It's like having emotional radar that never switches off. But this constant input creates a peculiar problem that researchers are calling cognitive overflow. Imagine trying to drink from a fire hose while simultaneously analysing the water pressure, temperature, mineral content, and source. That's what everyday life feels like for many deep thinkers. They're drowning in their own insights. The workplace becomes particularly challenging for these minds. While others can compartmentalise their thoughts and focus on immediate tasks, deep thinkers find themselves seeing connections everywhere. A simple project meeting might trigger thoughts about company culture, team dynamics, market trends, ethical implications, and long-term consequences. They're the employees who ask the questions that make managers shift uncomfortably in their chairs because they've identified problems no one else has noticed yet. This can make them invaluable team members, but it can also make them difficult to manage. They need context for everything, struggle with arbitrary deadlines, and often produce work that's more thorough than what was actually requested. They're solving problems that haven't been asked yet while others are still working on the obvious ones. Their social interactions follow similar patterns. Small talk feels like speaking a foreign language because their minds immediately dive beneath surface-level exchanges. When someone asks how their weekend was, they don't just report events. They consider what those events meant, how they felt about them, what patterns they revealed about their life choices, and whether the person asking actually wants to know or is just following social protocol. This depth makes them incredible friends to those who appreciate their intensity, but it can also isolate them from casual social connections. They're the ones who turn party conversations into discussions about the meaning of happiness or the nature of authentic connection. People either love this about them or find it exhausting. Dating presents its own unique challenges. Deep thinkers often struggle with the superficial stages of romantic relationships, where people present curated versions of themselves. They want to skip past the performance and get to the real person underneath. They ask questions on first dates that most people wouldn't ask after months of dating. They're looking for authentic connection, while others are still figuring out which version of themselves to present. When they do find compatible partners, the relationships can be extraordinarily rich and meaningful. But they also tend to overanalyze relationship dynamics, sometimes creating problems through excessive examination of perfectly normal interactions. They might spend hours dissecting a brief conversation, wondering what their partner really meant, what they should have said differently, and what it all reveals about their compatibility. Sleep becomes complicated for these minds because bedtime doesn't signal an end to mental activity. While others might replay the day's events briefly before drifting off, deep thinkers find themselves in extended analysis sessions. They process conversations, examine decisions, explore possibilities, and often discover new insights just when they should be winding down. Many report their most creative breakthroughs happening in those quiet moments before sleep, when their analytical filters relax and unexpected connections emerge. But this same mental activity can keep them awake for hours, their brains refusing to power down because there's always one more angle to consider, one more connection to explore. Their relationship with technology reflects their deeper nature as well. While others might scroll through social media for entertainment or distraction, deep thinkers often find themselves studying human behavior through these platforms. They notice patterns in how people present themselves, what they choose to share or hide, and what these digital interactions reveal about contemporary society. But they also recognize the superficiality of most online engagement and often feel frustrated by the lack of meaningful connection in digital spaces. They crave depth in a medium designed for brevity, authenticity in platforms built on performance, and genuine connection in systems optimized for engagement metrics. This digital disconnect often drives them toward more traditional forms of expression and connection. They're the ones still writing long emails, having actual phone conversations, and preferring face-to-face meetings where they can read all the subtle cues that digital communication strips away. Their consumption of information also differs dramatically from others. Where most people might read headlines or watch highlights, deep thinkers want the full story, the historical context, the multiple perspectives, and the underlying implications. They're the ones who read the entire article, check the sources, and often end up researching topics for hours because each piece of information leads to 3 more questions. This thorough approach to learning makes them well informed but can also create information paralysis. When you see complexity everywhere, making decisions based on incomplete information becomes almost impossible. They might spend weeks researching a simple purchase because they want to understand every variable that might affect their choice. But perhaps the most profound aspect of the deep thinker's experience is their relationship with meaning itself. While others might accept that some things just are, deep thinkers need to understand why they are. They're constantly searching for patterns, purposes, and connections that might explain the apparent randomness of existence. This search for meaning can lead to beautiful insights about life, love, and human nature. But it can also lead to existential exhaustion when the search itself becomes overwhelming. Sometimes there is no deeper meaning, no hidden pattern, no profound purpose. Sometimes a sunset is just light refracting through atmosphere, and accepting that can be more peaceful than analysing it endlessly. The challenge for deep thinkers becomes learning when to engage their analytical nature and when to simply experience life without examination. It's about finding balance between their gift for depth and their need for simple, immediate experience. Understanding this dynamic becomes crucial for deep thinkers who want to maintain their analytical gifts while also finding peace in the present moment. The key lies not in silencing their minds, but in learning to observe their thoughts without being consumed by them. It's like becoming the conductor of an orchestra, rather than being overwhelmed by every individual instrument playing at once. Many deep thinkers discover that their greatest breakthrough comes when they stop fighting their nature and start working with it instead. They learn to schedule their analysis time, creating specific periods for deep thinking while protecting other moments for simple experience. It's like setting boundaries not with other people, but with their own minds. This process often involves developing what psychologists call metacognitive awareness, the ability to think about thinking itself. Deep thinkers become skilled at recognizing when their analysis is serving them and when it's simply spinning its wheels. They notice the difference between productive contemplation and circular rumination, between insight that leads to growth and overthinking that leads to paralysis. The journey toward this awareness usually involves recognizing certain patterns in their mental behavior. They might notice that their analysis intensifies during times of stress or uncertainty, using intellectual exploration as a way to feel more in control of unpredictable situations. Understanding this connection helps them distinguish between genuine curiosity and anxiety disguised as contemplation. Many find that their relationship with their own depth changes over time. In their younger years, they might have felt proud of their analytical abilities, seeing them as evidence of superior intelligence or sensitivity. But as they mature, they often develop a more nuanced relationship with their gifts, appreciating their value while also recognizing their limitations. This maturation process frequently involves learning to trust their intuition alongside their analysis. Deep thinkers often possess remarkably accurate gut feelings, but they've learned to distrust these instincts in favor of thorough examination. Developing confidence in their immediate responses can provide relief from the constant pressure to analyze everything exhaustively. The social aspects of being a deep thinker also evolve with experience. They learn to read social situations more effectively, recognizing when others want depth and when they prefer lighter interaction. This doesn't mean compromising their authentic nature, but rather developing social intelligence about when and how to share their insights. They often become skilled at asking questions that draw others into deeper conversation without overwhelming them. Instead of launching immediately into complex analysis, they learn to create spaces where others can choose their level of engagement. This approach often reveals that many people actually crave more meaningful dialogue than typical social interactions provide. Professional development takes on unique dimensions for deep thinkers, as they learn to leverage their analytical gifts in work environments that don't always value depth. They discover that their ability to see patterns and connections can be incredibly valuable in strategic roles, research positions, or creative fields that benefit from their comprehensive approach to problem solving. But they also learn to translate their insights into language that others can understand and act upon. This often involves developing communication skills that bridge the gap between their complex internal processing and the practical needs of their colleagues or clients. They become interpreters of their own depth, making their insights accessible without sacrificing their substance. The creative expression of deep thinkers often serves as both outlet and integration tool for their complex inner lives. Whether through writing, art, music, or other forms of creativity, they find ways to externalize their internal complexity in forms that others can appreciate and understand. This creative work often becomes a bridge between their private contemplative world and their public interactions with others. Many discover that their creative work helps them process their own experiences more effectively. By translating their thoughts and feelings into external forms, they create distance that allows for perspective and resolution. The act of creation becomes a form of active meditation, engaging their analytical minds while also providing emotional release. Their relationship with solitude becomes particularly important, as they learn to balance their need for internal processing with their desire for connection. Deep thinkers often require more alone time than others, not because they're antisocial, but because they need space to process the constant input they absorb from their environment. This solitude isn't empty or lonely when properly understood. It's rich with internal dialogue, creative exploration, and the kind of deep processing that allows them to show up more fully in their relationships with others. Learning to protect and value this alone time becomes essential for their emotional well-being and their ability to engage meaningfully with the world around them. The physical aspects of being a deep thinker also deserve attention. The constant mental activity can create physical tension that many don't recognize until they learn to pay attention to their bodies. They might carry stress in their shoulders from hunching over in concentration, experience headaches from mental intensity, or feel generally fatigued from the energy required to process so much information continuously. Developing body awareness becomes crucial for managing the physical toll of their mental intensity. This might involve learning relaxation techniques, engaging in physical activities that quiet the mind, or simply developing the habit of checking in with their physical state throughout the day. The mind-body connection becomes particularly important for people whose minds are so actively engaged. Nutrition and sleep patterns also affect deep thinkers differently than others. Their brain's constant activity requires steady energy, making blood sugar fluctuations more noticeable and disruptive. They might find that certain foods enhance their mental clarity while others create fog or agitation. Similarly, their sleep needs might differ from others, requiring either more rest to recover from mental intensity or specific conditions that allow their active minds to settle. The technological relationship of deep thinkers continues evolving as they find ways to use digital tools that enhance rather than fragment their thinking. They might gravitate toward platforms that allow for long-form expression, deep research, or meaningful connection rather than superficial engagement. They often become early adopters of tools that support their natural thinking patterns while learning to avoid technologies that scatter their attention. Many develop sophisticated information management systems to handle the volume of insights, connections, and ideas they generate. They might use detailed note-taking systems, mind-mapping tools, or personal knowledge management approaches that help them capture and organize their thoughts without losing the connections between different concepts and experiences. Their approach to learning remains distinctively thorough throughout their lives. They're the ones who take online courses and actually complete them, who read books with highlighters and margin notes, who engage with educational content as active participants rather than passive consumers. This commitment to deep learning often leads to expertise in multiple areas, as their curiosity drives them to explore various subjects thoroughly. The beautiful truth about deep thinkers is that their intensity isn't a flaw to be fixed, but a gift to be understood. They're the ones who remind us that life contains infinite layers worth exploring, that questions matter more than quick answers, and that the examined life, while sometimes exhausting, holds treasures that surface-level living never reveals. If you recognize yourself in these patterns, know that your depth serves a purpose in a world that desperately needs people willing to think beyond the obvious and feel beyond the comfortable.